Peace, everybody. We're live. Today I'm going to be speaking with Brother Timo Wilson-El. If you want more information on him, check out the video description. Also, you can go to the channel for this podcast, More Than America on YouTube. There's a previous video interview on here with him, speaking more about his history, his upbringing and everything, giving you great insight on what he's doing, his mission. And I believe everybody should go and check. Pardon that. So like I said, I think everybody should go and check that video out. Great interview. And we're speaking with the brother live. This is going to be awesome. The brother just put out a book. Pardon more. It looks like I got cut off again. But the brother just put out a book. The information on his book is in the video description. So everyone make sure you go and check that out. And let's go ahead and get things started out here. This is More Than America. For those that are new to this channel, that have never been here before, you're in for a treat. I just want to say for everyone here, you're listening to the True and Living Light Bringer More Than America. As always, I'm your brother, LDouglasEl, also known as Sharif Ali. Here on More Than America, we are uncovering and bringing glorious light to all issues pertinent to the Moorish American paradigm, because that's what we do here on this podcast known as More Than America. So hopefully everybody's having an amazing evening, afternoon, whatever time of day it is for you. If you wouldn't mind, please share this broadcast on your favorite social media platform, Facebook, Twitter, etc. Make sure you hit the like and share button. Everybody, just want to ask everyone to hit that like and share button. We're going to go ahead and dig in and get things started. This is going to be great, informative, powerful for everyone involved. And what else can I say about it other than you're going to enjoy this and appreciate it? I know you will. So hit the like and share button, and here we go.
I am not a Negro, black, colored, African American. I'm a Moorish American. Peace.
Yeah. Hey, 5 on the right, 2 on the left, man. You know what time it is. Yo. We just Moors in America, soared through the shores and endured criminal acts of war on our character. 7 years after the 4th score, no reward. Shout out to the most courageous, they was jumping over barriers. Where does that compare to you? We come from a place where you scared to visit our area. We come from a place where it's scary for good Samaritans. Heavy luggage we carrying, babies having babies. It's crazy being American. Praise the one and only Allah, there's no comparison. La ilaha illa Allah, body and buried in. Laughing at you clowns like ha-ha, dodging the Nephilim. Conquer lower self with the high, follow your regimen. Way before they came we were gods, and now we specimen. Tried to take the light from our eyes, thank God for Edison. Then they put the wool on our eyes, it's so embarrassing. Now we travel frequently, we should invest in Sheraton. All of us got gold on our bodies whenever we stepping in. Screaming Ramadan, Mubarak, training the flesh again. Wishing we could move as a unit just like the Mexicans. Dodging all the foods with estrogen, synthetic medicines. All sin isn't devilish. Sometimes the decisions that you make come for a better gift. Sometimes when you sin is to relate to all your brethren. Heavenly gates all in our face, we the champions. We live in the sky, we see the angels on the chariots. Waiting on the $20 bill, face a Harriet. I bet you I'ma carry it. I'm in love with music to the point I wanna marry it. But my love for people is greater, so I write messages. Largest spending power, but we still sit at a deficit. Living amongst prejudice, even at our residence. Moors in America, flourishing, excellent. Let's buy up some neighborhoods and groom our own president. Yeah. And I come to you today with all intentions of spreading love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice.
All right, peace, everybody. I want to thank everybody for joining us here today on Morris in America. And today we are speaking with our brother Timo Wilson-El. He is the author of the new book, 0 to 6, The Entrepreneur's Guide to Six Figures in 0% Business Credit. Um, he's also been interviewed on this channel before. So if you've never witnessed his work before, make sure that you go on the channel, search Timo Wilson, pull up the previous interview, learn a great deal about what he's doing, his mission. Incredible brother, and that's why we're having him back on here again. Um, really want to dig in, talk about the work that he's doing, the projects that he's got going on. You see the title, From 0 to 6, Bro Timo Wilson-El on Unlocking Six Figures in Business Credit. So that's what we're talking about here. Grown man talk, grown woman talk, I guess. And we're speaking about business and how to succeed, how to take what you're doing to the next level, something that should be interesting to most of us here, right? And we're just going to jump right into things right away. Brother Timo, it's great to have you on here. Before we jump right into questions, is there anything that you would like to share with us? A lot of us have already, seen the interview before. Is there anything else you would like to speak about, brother?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you so much for having me on for a second time. To make it the first time is a big deal, but when you get invited for a second time, that means you're doing something right, because I believe it's been maybe 1.5 to 2 years since we did the first one. So I'm just honored to be here today. I'm honored to share as much as I can as I wake up every day to be of service to individuals, and just thank you and thank you for all that you do.
Right, brother. Gratitude to you for the great work that you're doing, and for inspiring people, and then coming back on here to share, because like giving back, to the community, sharing life experience, what you've learned, wisdom is, it's always a pleasure to have people that are doing that, to assist others and taking whatever they're doing to greater heights. So yeah, definitely pleasure to have you on. And just want to go ahead and jump on into things. I figured, first let's just get into the foundations of your journey. Can you share like the origin story? Like what inspired you to write the book 0 to 6? What was there a personal struggle or a breakthrough moment that kind of, set you on this path for mastering the business credit?
Yes, definitely. That's actually a great question. So the last time we spoke, I was speaking a lot about, my upbringing and, the earlier stages of building my first company, helping over 8,000 consumers repair and rebuild their credit. And the last about 24 months, I've went through a massive transition in business. So I created a program called FundOps, and FundOps stands for Funding Optimization. And through this program, I work with business owners one-on-one over 12 consulting sessions. And we literally, there's 6 steps where we prime the LLC for funding. We create their commercial profiles. We build business credit. We form the banking relationships. We build the digital footprint for the business. And 99% of these businesses are startup businesses that are doing 0 revenue, right? And then after the entire build is done, I then put them in front of what's called a relationship manager at Chase, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, US Bank, and we raise about $50,000 to $100,000 in 0% business credit. Well, I started the marketing campaigns for that program October of 2024, and it filled up so fast where I tried to, hire more funding consultants to keep up with the demand, but I'm very OCD with the quality of work my companies deliver. And I just noticed it wasn't the same, right? With clients working with people I hired that work for me as to oppose me directly. And I said, there's not going to be any way I can reach tens of thousands of people with this information doing it this way. So I said, let me write a book, because my program is, almost $10,000, right? And it's catered to a specific clientele. It's not for everybody. I said, how can I help the everyday business person that might not have, thousands of dollars in their savings account. So I wrote the book because all for $22, everything we do during one-on-one sessions to build and fund, you can literally now read and do it yourself. So I want to help the world, the nation at scale. So I figured a book was the best way to approach that.
Man, that's powerful. That's powerful, brother. Let's go a little bit deeper into the title of your book now. What does 0 to 6 mean to you? And why did you frame the book around reaching six figures within 12 months?
Yeah, so what 0 to 6 means to me is typically when a client reaches out and wants to raise capital to get their startup off the ground, they're at ground zero, right? They don't know a lot about finance. They might not know a lot about, banking, underwriting guidelines, or the proper structure. And by the time you're done working with me, we would have raised at least $100,000 or more. So that's where that came. And then I followed through with an entrepreneur's guide to six figures and 0% business credit, because this is specifically for entrepreneurs. All business owners are entrepreneurs. We wake up every day, we create with our minds, and we manifest exactly what it is we're seeking to accomplish. And what we're doing is we're raising 0% business capital for the businesses in the form of 0% business credit cards. So I wanted to be extremely, extremely detailed with the title. So before people purchased the book, they knew exactly what they were about to read. And the end goal of reading this book is raising six figures of 0% capital.
Right, man. That's clear. And, I think it's motivating too, because like you said, anyone that's in business, no matter how big or small, is an entrepreneur. So that's powerful, brother. It's motivating. Let's go in and unpack the actual system that you're laying out, so people know where to start. Really getting into the practical, fundamental strategies. For people that are tuning in, like this is all we just grown business talk, and practical, meaning anyone can do it, as you just said. So let's get into the step-by-step system, right? Can you break down the core process, like your outline in the book?
Yeah, definitely. So the core process, guys, is going to be very, 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 very first step, which is why I created, if you look at the front of the book, you see Sacred Wealth Systems. So Sacred Wealth Systems is my school community that teaches entrepreneurs how to clean their own credit with artificial intelligence and properly build your personal credit before you even start reading this book, because this is specifically the business. You do have to take that step. So step one is definitely making sure you have zero derogatory accounts on your personal credit, and you have at least $10,000 to $20,000 in personal primary credit cards. That's very first step. And then we move on to the LLC. We want to prime the LLC for funding, which means we want to make sure that the LLC is in a low risk industry. So LLCs such as marketing, consulting, business management, different industries like that are low risk industries. We want to make sure that we have a very, very broad name like Wilson and Associates, right? Moores in America, Universal, or Alliance, or something like that. You don't want to do first name real estate or last name trucking, because it's too visible to the bank exactly what you're doing, and those are high risk industries. If you're working from home, definitely use a home address. If you're not, use a commercial address. And then we get into the details of like NAICS code, your North American Industrial Classification Code, as well as SIC codes, which tells the banks how high or low of a risk industry you're in. Now, directly after we prime the entity for funding, we have registered agents, we have real addresses, we're in a low risk industry, we have a broad name. Then what we want to do is we want to move over to Dun & Bradstreet, which is your main commercial business credit bureau, as well as Experian Commercial and Equifax Commercial. We want to set up commercial profiles for the business. Just like your person has credit, your business can build credit on its own. So after we create the commercial profiles, we move to step 3, which is business credit. Now, what I like to do is called a tier 2 build. So your very first, tier 1 build when it comes to business credit is going to be net 30 accounts. You typically want to add about 3 to 4 net 30 accounts, which is then going to populate an A+ rating with Dun & Bradstreet, a 80 or 90 plus Paydex score with Experian, and then roughly like a 400 score with Equifax. They only go up to 500, by the way. Now, when it comes to business credit, understand that business credit is about how early you pay. When you pay on time, it's actually a bad thing. So I consult on little things like that. Now, once we have the net 30s on there, now we're going to enter tier 2 business credit build, which is applying for unsecured store credit. So for my real estate professionals, which 80% of my clients right now are in real estate, we go to get $5,000 from Home Depot. We get a Lowe's card. For my truckers, we get gas cards. These are retail stores extending credit to your business, but you can only use it at that business, but it still builds the business credit profile. Directly after that, I have a master Excel sheet with literally every single bank in every single state and what credit bureau they pull. So we then pull up our banking master Excel sheet, and then I consult the business owner on the 4 to 6 business checking accounts we want to set up. Now, why do we establish business checking accounts before filling out funding applications? Because funding is all about relationships with the banks. The way you start your relationship with the bank for them to get to know your business is through a business checking account. And there's guidelines because this is what you call bank credit, right? The more monies, AKA collateral, you have sitting in that business checking account, the higher of approval you'll get later on down the line, and you want to season those bank accounts for X amount of time. Directly after we're done with banking relationships, we want to create the digital footprint for the business. Because when you're applying for business credit, they are going to Google your business. So we want to whitelist the business on Google, on Yahoo Finance, on Bing, and every little directory to get that business visible. We want that business with a digital footprint, a professional website with a privacy policy, and some type of contact us button on the website so banks can see you're actively marketing and bringing in clients, because that's how real businesses function, right? Now, once that is completely done, which takes about 3 to 4 months, now we sit down and we actually build the funding plan. So we're going to go through the entire build, all the relationships we established, and I'm going to then start preparing questionnaires for my clients to go on ahead and send to relationship managers. So the difference with my funding style and most is we're not going online with our clients and filling out business credit applications. I have what's called relationship managers from all the national lenders that have partnered with my program. A relationship manager is like the private banker in the back that only works with businesses doing $1 million or north of that annually. Well, guess what? They work with my clients that are startup companies not doing any revenue, because with business credit, we can utilize what's called stated income. What is stated income? If you're not producing any revenue right now through your LLC, you can forecast what you project you're going to grow through that business and use that on the bank business credit application, and know that is not bank fraud. It says it in fine print. You can use stated income. Directly after that, now my client and the relationship manager works on the approvals. We typically go through 4 to 6 lenders at one time. And that's pretty much the framework to, receive $100,000 in business credit. And as simple as it sounds, guys, it's a very, very intricate and detailed process.
Yeah, man, it sounds like it, but that was actually an excellent breakdown. Before anyone can even think about, applying for credit, you pretty much made it clear that you got to set the foundation.
That's correct.
Gratitude for sharing that, and I definitely, feel like we should all have a copy of that book. Now moving on about the LLC foundations. You mentioned priming. Why is priming your LLC so critical, right, before even applying for credit? And what's the biggest mistakes that the entrepreneurs are making out there?
Yeah, definitely. So priming your LLC is extremely important, because That is the foundation to literally everything. My clients understand that, hey, there's three legs to funding. You have credit, you have revenue, you have collateral. Well, most of my clients aren't doing any revenue. We're not putting up any collateral. So we have to ensure that the LLC is set up the right way, because when you're pre-revenue, you want to build it out to seem as if it's a Fortune 500 company without being a Fortune 500 company. Look at it like you want to build your foundation as strong as possible. So everything we put on top of that foundation gives the bank a case on why they should, quote unquote, approve your business. So priming your LLC is everything from maturity and age. The banks align their approval guidelines with the SBA statistics. 86% of businesses go under within the first 3 years in business, right? So allowing your LLC to age, making sure it's in a low risk industry. What changed July 1st is that they're no longer accepting virtual addresses. So with my clients, we did all this work to hook up iPostal or Opus addresses before funding, and then everything changed July 1st because of the amount of fraud going on in the market right now. They actually want you to publicly list your home address if that's where your business is really being ran out of. So you asked about the biggest mistake people are making is using virtual addresses before going into funding right now is a major red flag to the banks. Automatic decline.
Yeah. So imagine like all those companies that have the virtual offices, like they're going to take a hit from that too. Yeah, I did not know that. Yeah, gratitude for sharing that.
Yes, sir.
What about like having like those postal addresses? Did you know with the PO box, they give you like the street address you could use? Is that also they treat it the same?
Yes, sir. That's pretty much what iPostal and Opus is a let's call it it's a virtual address where they give you a suite number and a PMB number, a private mailbox number. You can't even open up the business checking accounts at this time with those addresses.
Okay, yeah, that's definitely news to me, man. Gratitude for sharing, and that's important. I mean, people don't know this, so yeah, gratitude for going into that. Just moving forward, wrapping it up about the practical strategies for the business, building the business credit profiles, right?
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the key moves that you think entrepreneurs should make to make a trustworthy credit profile?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So the first thing is making sure you have bare minimum at least 3 to 4 reporting trade lines on all 3 commercial profiles: Dun & Bradstreet, Experian, and Equifax, number 1. Number 2, when you're adding those net 30s, guys, you have to read the fine print with the vendor, because that's really what it is. It's called vendor credit. They will list a minimum amount you must spend, as well as how many days before the invoice is due you must ensure you make the payment for reporting purposes. Why order all this office product from Uline if you don't get the reporting of the payment on your business credit profile, right? So the strategy is like with Uline, you want to order minimum $50 worth of product. I tell all my clients to pay your invoices 2 weeks before the due date to ensure accurate reporting to build the business credit profile. So tier 1, always start with your net 30s, pay attention to the fine print to make the minimum order, pay the invoice 2 weeks before. Now, after you pull your business credit reports, guys, what you want to do is ensure everything's reporting. Then you apply for your store credit. These are the steps we take before we fill out our very first business credit application, because now future lenders can see the business has history on its own.
Oh man, great. Gratitude for sharing that, man. This is great stuff. And I mean, even with us talking about this, you still want to get that book so you can go through the checklist and everything that's in there. Make sure that you're locked tight. But that's great stuff, man. So when you've got the credit profile in place, and then what's the next question? The next question, like who are you building these relationships with, like in the banking?
You know that it all depends. That's a really great question. It really all depends because banking is regional, right? So my Arizona clients are going to have a different banking setup than my Florida clients. But I'll give you guys an example. Chase is always number one. If like everyone should have a JP Morgan Chase business checking account, and all of your cash flow should go through that account. I'm going to tell you guys why. Because Chase is what's called a platinum lender. They are going to lend the most aggressively for your business. And all future lenders are going to see what Chase does first and then come in at about 60 to 70% of an approval amount from what Chase came in at. Chase is always recommended. I recommend Wells Fargo as well. They've stepped their game up these last 12 to 24 months. For businesses less than 2 years old that are doing at least $100,000 in gross annual revenue, Wells Fargo is doing a $50,000 business line of credit with no financials needed, no taxes, no profit and loss statements, no debt schedule, just bank statements. Bank of America is my TransUnion puller. Love Bank of America because you can apply for 2 credit cards with 1 inquiry. Actually, this morning, I just got a client approved for $16,000 in 0% business credit through Bank of America, followed by US Bank. Love US Bank. They have the US Bank Platinum credit card, but US Bank right now is also doing a small business loan that you don't have to provide any documentation and you can get approved for up to $25,000 there. And then if I'm working with a client that's south of New York, but east of Austin, Texas, we're going to go with Truist because Truist only pulls your Equifax credit report. And they pretty much approve up to $25,000 per credit card without ever showing, a bank statement or any financials. So those are my recommended core group of lenders. But then I like, like not everybody has a Navy Federal membership, right? But if you do, Navy Federal is a great one. I love, DCU Credit Union as well as First Tech Credit Union as well. For those of you guys building personal credit, Navy Federal, DCU, as well as First Tech Credit Union, they do what's called pledge loans, where you can utilize the capital in your savings to have them, loan your own money to build credit. So credit unions typically approve big boy limits as well outside of national lenders. But those are my core groups of banks I love to work with. I also have great relationships with the relationship managers at those banks. And we do so much volume. It's kind of like we're family at this point, and they really take good care of my clients.
Wow. Yeah, that's strong points. Thank you for sharing that. Just moving forward, you talk about the importance of an online presence, right? So what kind of role does that play, in securing business funding?
Oh, it's so important because not every application is going to get approved when you submit it. I have a client right now, her application is pending with Chase now for 3 weeks. What do you guys think happens when your business credit applications go into pending status? A whole verification process. So the first thing they're going to do is they're going to Google your business. Okay. If they can't find your business in a banker's eyes, you don't have a business, right? Because businesses seeking capital are pretty much visible online, marketing themselves, trying to acquire clients, right? So having that, domain, not using a personal Gmail account as your business email, not using a personal cell phone number for your business phone number. This is all the digital footprint and corporate identity stage. Being listed in every yellow pages, white pages, etc. is very important. Not only does it help with lending if your application goes into the pending status and they start to research your business. For those of you that are trying to grow in business, when you rank your business on the yellow and white pages, it helps with SEO, which makes your business more visible, which in return brings in more clients. So all that stuff is important because the banks just want to know you have a real business, that you're not just going to get approved for, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 default and they can't find you.
Sorry, I didn't know I was on mute. Yeah, so that's practical. That makes a lot of sense. So just moving on, like on the flip side, what are some of the traps that people are falling into?
Yeah, the traps are, you see everything online. It's interesting. So the traps are just doing a sloppy job with your business. Like I was mentioning earlier, sole proprietorships don't work when it comes to business credit. Like make sure you have an LLC, but if you can, I would recommend an S corporation or a C corporation. C corporations get way more capital and funding than an LLC does. Staying away from the personal cell phone number on a business credit app, staying away from, timo@gmail.com to run my business. And honestly, just getting discouraged along the process, this takes time, right? Like everyone wants capital, money and capital right now. Just having the patience to do this the right way, because you only have to do this the right way one time. Once you're funded, from there, all you have to do is manage the capital, and you're going to get a lot more capital later on down the line since you have the seasoned relationships. But not getting discouraged, rushing the process, or building like a easily identifiable one-man operation work from home business. When you do this, you want to set it up the way I'm teaching. That way, when you bring that lending packet to a relationship manager, and we have that, this business is doing $400,000 on a business credit application. When they research it, it looks like it's doing $400,000 in annual revenue. Lastly, guys, for those of you guys that end up working with relationship managers, making sure you have your communication up to par, right? Because these bankers are not stupid. If you're going to you're doing multi-six figures on an application, you have to speak like it as well, right? And then one more tip I'll give you guys is really taking time to work on the description of your business, right? So, I help clients write their description. So for a real estate consulting company, that's a startup, we're going to write a 5-sentence description on the application stating, hey, such and such LLC is a real estate consulting firm that specializes in helping, let's call it startup real estate investors learn the inside strategies on how to grow their portfolio to produce passive income. In the last 2 to 3 years, we've helped X, Y, and Z. This is the end goal we help them to get to, and just really having that business description dialed in as well. So, the banks see it as, okay, this is an operating company and this is a company on a growth plan. Yes, we should lend to them.
Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I would say too, if I could just add to that, if you're not like able to speak the on the level, which would go along with the amount of money you're saying that you're making, maybe hire somebody that can do that communication for you, on behalf of the company. I would also like to ask just about some of the predatory loans, like some of the traps that are out there. Like, what should new entrepreneurs do, to avoid when they're trying to get funded? Like, because you have, high interest lenders, the quick fix, funding options. What can people do, to steer clear of that?
That's a great question. So the reason why I'm so passionate about raising 0% capital, guys, is because I started off in the merchant cash advance industry back in 2020, 2021. And for those of you guys that don't know what merchant cash advances are, is you have a group of investors. It looks like a loan, but they're not loaning you any money. What they're doing is they're purchasing your future receivables. Anyone with a 550 credit score that is doing at least $10,000 a month can get a merchant cash advance. The problem with those products are they take 50% interest and they ACH their payments daily. So if you are not a heavily cash flowing business, you can go under, and they put a UCC1 lien on your business. So if you don't pay, they assume ownership over your business. So the reason why I came up with 0% business credit stacking is because I've seen too many business owners go under with the predatory loans like merchant cash advances, high interest loans as such, where 0% capital is literally the easiest way to scale a business, because your monthly outgo while you're in the 0% interim is literally 1% of what you use. So for every $100,000 you use, your payment is only $1,000 a month, right? So, stay away from merchant cash advances. I definitely recommend, if you're a business owner with bad credit, instead of being impulsive and I need money right now and getting stuck into one of those traps, take your time through Sacred Wealth Systems and repair your credit, optimize your business properly, because either you're going to get high interest debt and that could look bad for you in the future, or you're going to take your time and get 0% debt, which is going to be easier to scale when it's time to grow that company.
Definitely great advice. Thank you for speaking on that. And of course, avoiding those pitfalls is key. That could take you under. So definitely thank you for speaking on that. Just moving forward, what are some of the common misconceptions, some of the myths that you've come across, right, about business credit and funding that you want to address?
That's another great question. You came with the great questions today.
Gratitude.
A common myth is that a business can get funded with its EIN number only, even if the owner has bad credit. And I believe that, 5-6 years ago as well. I was trying to figure out, I'm like, wait, so what they're really marketing is just like net 30s, right? That's not real capital that you can spend just about anywhere. So yes, you do need good personal credit to fund your business. The SBA loan, you have to be a 660 or higher. And then for just about every other product, you do have to be a 700 plus. 720, 740 is the sweet spot. So no, a business cannot get funded on its own just with its EIN number if the owner has bad credit. I would say that's the biggest misconception. And then if I had to pick another one, I would say that's the biggest one.
All right, gratitude for addressing that. Clearing the air on that. Now, just moving on and speaking about the cash flow, right? Because you did touch on that a little earlier. A lot of entrepreneurs feel stuck, in the cash flow, like they're in a rut. How do you feel like the strategies in your book can help them break free and grow?
Yeah, that's a great question. So if you're a business owner and you feel stuck with your cash flow, what you measure multiplies. You got to track your finances every single day, right? So first, tracking your finances and getting rid of any unnecessary outgo. That's the very, very first step. Then the second step is you got to sit down and figure out the most effective areas in your business you can grow your revenue stream without applying for debt. Like there's so many organic ways to build a business to generate at least $100,000 or $200,000 a year. Social media being the freest platform ever, right? Just word of mouth marketing your business, like not going all in on systems and all the fancy stuff at the beginning, just pure footwork and pure hustle. And then once you can organically grow the revenue, that's when you set up for debt financing, which is what we're talking about today, to actually scale the operation. You gotta just be aware of where the money is going and always ensure that you're reinvesting back into the business rather than withdrawing, to pay your own bills and to pay yourself. Because the businesses that are struggling, what I see a lot of times, the owners are in a rush to pay themselves or to flex on Instagram or to brag how much money they're making. And over time, your business starts to do one of these, right? But if you live broke for a few years, reinvest back into the business, even if it's little by little, month over month, you're going to look up in 3 to 5 years, compound interest, and have a 7-figure company.
That's very practical advice. Really good, and I mean, it makes sense, but a lot of times people aren't thinking about that, especially if it's just like, a side business or something that someone's doing. It's bringing in money. You want to take the trips. You want to, flex, like you said. So yeah, very practical advice, and it sounds like you're advising people to ideally let the business pay for you the investing,
Yeah.
the next step for the taking the business further.
And it's the tracking part too, tracking your finances. Like there's a reason not only for funding that I set my clients up with 4 to 5 different business checking accounts, because you want to have a payroll account, you want to have a debt account, you want to have an operations account, you want to have an investment account, and you want everything to be separate. True story. I had a meeting with a client earlier this week. It was probably the worst meeting of the year. This was one of my very first clients that I brought into the Fund Ops program, funded him $89,000 to 0% capital, and he chose to pursue a trucking operation. Well, we had a meeting this past week and he stated, Timo, I'm sorry, I gave it all I got. But unfortunately, I'm going to have to dissolve and bankrupt the company. And I said, are you sure you want to do that? Because I'm sure we can put a plan together for you to dig out of this if you really want to. And I could tell he was mentally checked out. And I was like, why don't you send me your finances? I'm just curious, like what's going on? Because you're telling me you're not profitable and all this other stuff. And it just didn't sound right. He was like, well, my Chase credit card has a balance of almost $70,000 and I don't know where it went. And that's common for business owners to blindly run their businesses and swipe credit cards and swipe debit cards and just hope a miracle happens, which is why I started with, what you measure multiplies. Tracking your finances daily, if not weekly, on the business and personal side is super important. You want to know your net profit margins. You want to know your gross revenue. You want to know your net profit margins. You want to know the percentages of everything that's going on in your business.
Yeah, definitely. That makes a lot of sense. I have a few friends that I know that are high achievers, successful, bringing in millions, and definitely like they're looking at the finances every day, like every morning, and it makes a lot of sense. It's so easy to overlook that stuff, but yeah, I can see how that could come around and bite you very quickly. So
1,000%.
yeah, definitely great advice. Moving forward, just looking at the bigger picture, right? How do you feel like, or how do you see like financial literacy and access to funding empowering not just at the individual level, but whole entire communities, right? Because this is Moors in America, so Moorish Americans and other Asiatics, misclassified as black. What do you think? Like, how do you see this being able to impact?
Oh, I feel like this is the golden key. This is the key. This is like this is the reason why I'm so passionate about this, is because I know with this strategy, I can free a lot of people from financial bondage, because, we live in a basically system that is set up to work against us if you don't know this stuff, right? And I just see too many, business owners wake up and just try to do this stuff the hard way. Like, let's think about it. How long would it take you to save $100,000? For most people, a lifetime, right? So if we can accelerate getting our people access to capital, we can grow at a much faster, at a much faster exponential rate. On top of that, this is free money for the community, right? So what I envision happening, and I'm actually working on this right now, is imagine if we had 3, 4, 5 Moors that were set up the right way to all get $100,000 each from the bank. That's $500,000 when you put everyone together. Imagine how much real estate we could buy together, right? Imagine how many more businesses we can open that's going to make an impact in our direct communities, right? Because that's really what this is about. It's about empowering the people to get the capital and do the right thing with it to grow, but then to continue to teach others these strategies so it doesn't fade away. But this is I would say, the key to financial abundance on the business side if you're looking to get a startup off the ground as soon as possible. I think you're on mute.
Okay, pardon. Didn't realize I was on mute again. But so just digging even deeper into that question, because for the most part, what you've been speaking on today is just like general information for everybody. But digging a little deeper into the Moorish aspect or the religious aspect for us, right? I just want to read you something from our Moorish literature. It's actually written by the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, and this is from the document. Just so you know, it's not taken out of context. This is from Moorish leaders' historical message to America. Okay, and just going to ask you what are your thoughts on this? So just whatever you think about this. But so we're in Moorish leaders' historical message to America, and it says towards the end of that document, it says, in connection with our religious aims and beliefs, we must promote economic security.
Mm-hmm.
The preaching of economic security among us is by no means as widespread and intensive as the circumstances demand. No other one thing is more needed among us at this time than greater economic power, better positions for our men and women, more business employment for our boys and girls, and bigger incomes will follow our economic security. We shall be secure in nothing until we have economic power. A beggar people cannot develop the highest of them in them, nor can they attain to a genuine enjoyment of the spiritualities of life. Now, seeing that these are words from our prophet, please just share your thoughts on that statement. What do you think about that? In regards to us.
What I really pulled out of that is, economic security, right? In order to uplift fallen humanity, we must have economic security. So I would say for the more specifically, obviously, you need capital to open up more temples, right? Right. We need more temples to help more people, right? We need capital to travel and get the word out. We need capital to host more events. We need capital to get our time back in order to, do the necessary studying that we need to do to continue to wake our people up and become conscious, to this information. So I see this playing a big role in the quote unquote economic security, because through this, we can have more businesses within our Moorish community and just do more business with one another, right? The more of our Moorish brothers and sisters we can break out of, the corporate slave chain as well, the JOB, the just over broke, through these strategies would lead to more economic security, I believe.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with you as well. And, just listening to that with these being the words of our prophet, this is a part of our religion.
Mm-hmm.
The opening of businesses, making them successful, and then being able to do the great work of uplifting fallen humanity.
Well, right. Prophet Noble Drew Ali also stated that, we should be industrious, right?
Yes.
And I do feel as if, our people, preach, the NBA, the NFL, and all that stuff. Like, we plant those seeds in our kids' brains early on. And I work with a lot of NFL athletes. I used to want to be an NFL athlete growing up, but now that I've seen the inside of the business, it's a dog eat dog world, right? So if we can equip our people to be more industrious, which is, learning the inside strategies to think with our minds to grow these businesses with 0% capital, with literature, with books, with communities, with empowerment, imagine where this can be, 10, 20, 30 years from now, when our children grow up and want to be CEOs, finance experts, things of that nature, rather than risking their bodies to be in the NFL or the NBA, which less than 1% of people even make, right?
Yeah, definitely. And even in, in having that as, a potential goal, or trying to place that as a goal for our children, it's for most people, it's not something that you can replicate. It's not even a realistic thing, even if you're a great athlete. So yeah, definitely. We have so many other opportunities that we could be, going into, individually and collectively. So definitely agree with you there. One last thing along those lines, though, with in regards to that, is there any advice that you would share for Moors? Is we're all over the nation, even Moors in Trinidad and the Bahamas and Jamaica, right? But focusing on the Moors here in North America, is there any advice that you would share for Moors, maybe in temples or just throughout the cities, as far as getting increasing your economic security? Not saying you had to figure it all out, but just any advice that you would give, just in general for those watching.
Yes, definitely. So when it comes to increasing economic security, and I want to be really, really careful with how I word this, okay? We can't be so close-minded where we only, work amongst each other, because when you step in the business world, money is green, right? There's no black, there's no white, there's no purple, there's no Chinese, right? So
we want to be very realistic, because in all honesty, and I'm just put this out here, the Prophet Noble Drew Ali also put this out here. We're just like everybody else. We're just like everyone else in America, right? So in light of that, please continue.
Yeah, definitely. So I would say, so that just being open to learning from anybody and everybody is a big thing, right? Like, we're students of life. The minute you stop learning, you start to die, right? So just having that open mindset that, quote unquote, economic security, business, finance, success is a universal language, right? So with that being said, collaboration over competition. The more we can collaborate our way to the top, I believe the further we're going to get the decades to come. And just always investing, which Moors do religiously. We read, we're conscious, pray, all that good stuff. Just always investing in your mindset and being open to, the quote unquote hidden strategies of the 1% that can propel, everything forward.
Yeah. And I'm definitely with you on that. No, demonizing people or others who are successful at a high level. Learn, see what works, what can work for you, and do it. So definitely agreed on that point. One last thing too. Now the Prophet Noble Drew Ali also said to open businesses in his name or in the name of the temple. What would you say to that? Just what are your thoughts on that?
Open businesses in his name or in the name of the temple?
Yeah, in the name of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Under the Moorish Science Temple of America. Does that even sound doable in 2025? Or?
No, like, to be honest with you guys, like, if you in 2025, if you open up a business under the Moorish Science Temple of America, the banks are just going to turn you away, and you need capital to grow, right? So to be honest with you, just keeping it all the way 100, business is business, strictly financial, and we get into business to impact our community and create economic security, right? I've learned in business that, there's a time to put the hat on and there's a time to take the hat off. If we're only talking about the advancement, right? The advancement of, our wealth, of our success, and of our children with economic security. Personally, that's not advice. Nothing against what Prophet Noble Drew Ali says, but that's just not advice personally that I would follow, because I see too many obstacles, too many obstacles ahead if we were to open up businesses, in the Moorish Science of a Temple of America name, etc.
Yeah.
Now there's nothing wrong with starting a business that can build a strong foundation to support, right? The temples and the movement, but it's all strategy, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Let me ask you, how do you feel about that? Because you're a business owner. I have to ask.
Well, I would just be totally honest and just say that I wouldn't even know how to do it. I would have to talk to a law expert just to even see if that would be possible, if that's feasible. And then and then in my state and maybe in your state, is that something that could even be done? How would it be done? How could we make it successful? Um, is this something that would fall um, you know, under the religion, under a house of worship? Would this be something that maybe wouldn't, be taxed, and it wouldn't even be possible to do that? That's, but I don't know. I can't say, and I don't know. I don't know if there's any examples out there, that I could even look at and say, oh, okay, they're doing it. So yeah, let's figure out how they did it and let's do it. So yeah,
And to be honest with you, because I'm a funding guy, right? Like the first thing that came to mind is religious assembly. Banks won't fund a religious assembly, right? You have to go like 501c3 nonprofit, and you're like, tax exempt up to 50,000, and you would only be able to rely on grants. And let's be honest, after 1933, when the United States went bankrupt and the bankers bought us out of bankruptcy, who runs, the United States of America, the corporation? It's the banks and the attorneys, right?
Yes.
So, you would have all that up against you. And I just feel like it's already hard to get a startup off the ground and get a business profitable. It's very difficult. It takes everything out of you. Why add more on top of that?
Yeah, definitely that makes sense. And like I said, I wouldn't even be able to advise how to do it. I don't know if there's any examples out there doing it successfully. And it's not like I can say, oh, our business is running through the temple.
Yeah.
Not so. Yeah,
I'm with you on that.
Yeah, just wanted to see, your insight on that. And moving forward, I think like wrapping things up. The last question, just wanted to say, some final, or ask you for any final advice for someone who's watching this, maybe just starting their entrepreneurial journey, or maybe just, they're not just starting, but maybe they're feeling overwhelmed. What would you say would be the first step that they should take after watching this today? Besides get your book, what would you say?
Yeah, definitely. The first step I would advise somebody to take after watching this, if you are in a situation where you want to start a business, is I would spend some time journaling why I want to build that business and what my true purpose and calling is. I would spend time on that. Directly after that, because that's mindset training and purpose alignment, definitely grab my book. Then after you grab my book, what you do is you come into the Sacred Wealth community. If you guys go to school.com and search Sacred Wealth, come into the community, because I'm coaching every single Monday, everyday people on how to take their first steps, because some progress is better than no progress, right? Get the right coaching, get the right guidance, and find your community, whether it be with me or somewhere else, right? Just find a community that can hold you accountable and that's extremely supportive, so you're not walking the path alone.
Yeah, definitely great advice. We'll have the links like that he was just speaking about in the video description. But yeah, I definitely am in alignment with that. I mean, you have to be mindful of what you're entertaining, whatever you're feeding into yourself, whether it's through TV or social media. So definitely, having a community that can, you can bounce ideas off of each other. Maybe even people that's more experienced than you can share some of the mistakes that they've made or that they know not to do and what to do. So that's definitely great. And thank you for coming on here speaking and also sharing some real tools that people can apply. I think definitely this has been a great discussion and something that everybody watching this should like and share. Hit the share button. Oh, gratitude. More is uplifting humanity. Gratitude for the super chat. We appreciate you.
Gratitude.
To show you some love for that too. And I mean, if you are just now tuning in, make sure you go back and watch this, because just like it was just rapid fire, just questions and answers, just practical advice how to take this to the next level. Just through listening to the information that the brother Wilson-El has shared here, I think you know what the next step is. Definitely go and get that book, and then look into the community that he has online. Brother knows what he's talking about. Just wanted to say that before we wrap things up. Now, one last time, just want to ask you if there's any last words that you would like to share. Please feel free to speak now, and now I'll turn everything over to you.
Yeah, I just want to remind the Moors that our mind is our greatest weapon, right? So if we continue to water our minds, collaborate, communicate with one another, and build, like there's nothing that we can't accomplish together, right? And at the end of the day, this is not only for us, but my true purpose is to break generational curses. Like, business isn't about the tangible outcome, meaning money, right? It's about, for me personally, it's about doing this for my children coming from where I come from, just setting that right example and a high standard for my children to try to break. So with that being said, understand that a business without capital is not a business. And the only way you're going to sustain over a long period of time in business is having some type of funding, some type of capital. So as you think about where to invest your time in, if business is something you want to pursue and become very successful at, just invest the time into, the literature, into the teachings, into the strategies, because this is all really just a game. And then once you learn it, it becomes really, really easy. But always remember something. Together, everyone achieves more, and that's team.
All right. Gratitude. I like that a lot. So, just want to thank everybody for tuning in. Want to thank you for your time, brother. And on that note, we are about to get up out of here. Happy Holy Day, everybody. And just one last time, just ask that everybody watching this hit that like and share button.
Peace.
Unlock the Keys, a powerful guide to Moorish identity, divine law, and self-mastery. Praised by sheiks and scholars alike, and Moors across the nation are calling it a must-read. Grab your signed copy now at morrisinamerica.com for just $23. Or get the paperback on Amazon, also $23. Prefer digital? The Kindle version is only $3.99.
Don't let your history start at slavery. Join with Moorish Science Temple, a lawfully chartered Islamic organization, and proclaim your nationality while helping us uplift fallen humanity. Founded by American prophet Noble Drew Ali and consistently promoted plans for the betterment of humankind. We are located in Columbus, Ohio. Visit our website www.moorishamericans.com and follow us on social media. We hold live meetings on Zoom every Friday and Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Give us a call at 614-407-4394 if you would like to join or send donations to help us uplift fallen humanity.
Highest quality handmade fezzes. Crafted fez with the finest wool, complete with tassel and leather sweatband. Wear the national headdress of Moorish Americans with pride and respect. 3XL size fez is a comfortable fit for brothers with dreadlocks. Shipping worldwide. Go to moorishfez.com to order.
CareMore is a non-profit organization focused on providing goods and services to families and individuals in our underfunded communities in Central Ohio. We have created an online presence to reach members of our Central Ohio communities, as well as local events and meetings to give away supplies and donations throughout the city all year long. Visit our website to learn more and to send a donation.
Every day, billions of searches are conducted online, therefore it is critical that your company stands out to the small percentage of clients who are essential to your business. Our team of local digital marketing consultants and SEO experts is eager to help your company achieve its goals through a consultative approach, top Google rankings, and collaboration with industry experts. Here at Adept Marketing Solutions, we stand for integrity, dedication, ingenuity, and results. We know how to navigate the ever-changing digital landscape and what brands must do to succeed. Visit our website to see what we can do to help you reach your goals. Fez Caps blends Moorish style with modern streetwear hats. The cutting-edge design features Moorish symbols with a silk tassel on the dome of the cap. More than just a fashion statement, Fez Caps represents something powerful and ancient within you. Go to fezcaps.com to order your Fez Cap now.